Moving into the new apartment was exhilarating. The thrill of a new beginning filled the air as we unpacked our boxes and settled into our new space. It felt like a fresh start, a blank canvas waiting to be filled with our memories and experiences. The empty rooms echoed with possibilities. The rooms were filled with light, casting a warm glow that made everything seem more vibrant. The location was perfect, nestled in the heart of the city with a stunning view. For the first few days I felt like I had won the housing lottery. Every corner of the apartment brought joy, from the cozy living room to the spacious bedroom. I explored the neighborhood with a spring in my step, discovering charming cafes, vibrant parks and friendly faces. It felt like the perfect place to call home. This was my new home, and I was determined to make the most of it. I spent hours decorating, arranging furniture, and adding personal touches to every room. Little did I know, a tiny resident held the power to disrupt my newfound peace. A small dog full of energy and curiosity lived just above me. My upstairs neighbor, whom I had yet to meet, owned this small dog. It seemed harmless at first, just another pet in the building, but the dog possessed a bark that was anything but small. It echoed through the walls, startling me at all hours. It was loud, piercing, and utterly relentless. The once serene atmosphere of my perfect apartment was now filled with the constant noise of barking, challenging my peace and quiet. At first, the barking was a minor annoyance. I told myself it was a temporary inconvenience. Maybe the dog was just settling into the new surroundings like me. But as days turned into weeks, the barking continued unabated. It became a constant soundtrack to my life. I tried everything to drown it out. I bought noise-canceling headphones. I cranked up the volume on my music. Nothing worked. The insistent barking always found a way to pierce through, a constant reminder that my peaceful haven was anything but. The lack of sleep began to take its toll. My work suffered. Tasks that were once simple became monumental challenges. Concentration was a distant memory, and mistakes were becoming more frequent. My once cheerful demeanor faded, smiles were replaced with sighs, and laughter seemed like a relic of the past. Friends and colleagues noticed the change, but I couldn't explain the depth of my exhaustion. The barking was no longer a mere annoyance, it was a full-fledged menace, chipping away at my well-being. Each bark felt like a hammer striking my fragile nerves, making it impossible to find any semblance of calm. I felt myself growing increasingly resentful of the unseen dog and its seemingly indifferent owner. The anger simmered, turning into a constant undercurrent of frustration that I couldn't shake off. Why wasn't anyone doing anything about it? The neighborhood seemed oblivious to my plight, and I felt isolated in my struggle. It was as if my cries for help were falling on deaf ears. Going home, once a joy, became a dreaded chore. The thought of facing another sleepless night filled me with dread. My sanctuary had turned into a battleground. I knew that as soon as I stepped through the door, the incessant barking would begin. It was a relentless cycle, a never-ending torment that eroded my peace of mind. It was like a cruel joke, a constant reminder that I was not truly at peace in my own home. The place that should have been my refuge had become a source of constant stress and anxiety.
Know you've been a good friend.
I finally decided to talk to my neighbor. Maybe they were unaware of the problem. Perhaps they didn't realize the toll the barking was taking on me. I mustered up my courage and knocked on their door. A friendly woman answered, her face unfamiliar. I explained my situation as politely as I could. She seemed sympathetic and promised to look into it. For a few glorious days there was blessed silence. My hopes soared. Maybe this nightmare was finally over. But the respite was short-lived. Soon the barking returned, louder and more relentless than before. My frustration returned tenfold. One particularly stressful day, I came home to find the dog's barks echoing through the building. It felt like the walls were closing in. I couldn't take it anymore. All my pent-up anger and frustration threatened to boil over. I marched upstairs, determined to give my neighbor a piece of my mind. This time, I wouldn't be so polite. As I stood outside their door, ready to unleash my fury, My mind was racing with thoughts of confrontation. I noticed something peculiar. The door was slightly ajar, allowing a sliver of light to escape into the hallway. Through the crack, I could see the dog, small and trembling, its tiny body shaking with fear. Pacing anxiously by the window, it whined and pawed at the door, its movements frantic and desperate. Its bark was laced with desperation. It wasn't an annoying bark, it was a cry for help, a plea that pierced through my anger. My anger dissipated as quickly as it had arrived, replaced by a wave of concern and curiosity. I realized then that the dog wasn't trying to annoy me. It was communicating its distress in the only way it knew how. It was alone, frightened, and probably missing its owner, longing for their return. In that moment, I felt a surge of empathy, a deep connection to the creature's plight. My heart softened, and I knew I had to help. I gently opened the door, reaching out to the trembling dog, hoping to offer it some comfort and reassurance. As I did, the dog began to calm down, its eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope and trust. In that simple act of kindness, I found a moment of true connection, a reminder of the power of empathy.